You know what? For today, especially for this video, regardless of whether you subscribe to this channel, you are all sexy beasts. And that's what you get for just being here, for just watching this video. And hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name's Brian, if you happen to be new. And this is community feedback. Typically, my videos are my thoughts, right? But I want to highlight y'all's comments, and that's what this series is all about. So if you're new to the channel, or if this is the first community feedback you've ever seen, sound off in the comments below so I can officially welcome you into the discussion, especially as it relates to New World. So hopefully you guys are having a great day, but this isn't about me. Should be about all of us here. And so let's see what you guys had to say, especially as it relates to the September dev update that has just gone live yesterday. So Daniel says, more horizontal progression makes me insanely happy as a new player. Currently reaching level 30, you hit a wall in the MSQ where you're assigned to join the arena 3v3, yet no one under 60 queues up. We're seeing some changes with that, just mind you. So I've actually heard more and more people in the 30s are actually queuing up for 3v3 arena, but still hands down, cross server play for that playlist will be very valuable in the future whenever they have updates for that. Anyway, I'm already level 52. Congratulations. And I still don't have a single match. That sucks. Then at the level 50, other than doing some faction quests and crafting and harvesting, there's really not a lot of exciting activities. Level 45 expedition is almost always empty, regular runs of the depths, so it starts feeling more like a chore to reach those last 10 levels. I don't want to speedrun my leveling process doing what would be efficient. That's absolutely the right mindset. But in not doing so, I find myself empty-handed in the options, so it's a great take for me. And so, yes, when it comes down to it, like, I love horizontal progression, horizontal content. I think that has a great deal of improvement to never-ending kind of cycle going upwards. Now, that being said, we do feel like there will be some vertical progression down the road, but some of the things I said has me hopeful, and it's going to be my continued feedback that I'm going to keep giving on the game, especially as it relates to like weapons at level 20 and your experience at level 60, because there could be some really good, more casual nature to how you progress. Because one of the things that, even in Daniel's case, like, I took 4 months to get to level 60. I wasn't efficient, and that was actually the joy of it. And that grind, I know how some people feel like they have to hit that goal right away, but crafting, gathering, fishing, running a couple of quests here and there, doing the town boards, I think are kind of an important aspect. We know that they're going to be backfilling that and kind of smoothing that entire system out, first starting with 1 to 25, but then later down the road, no ETA on that yet. So there's definitely some things that I think will help out the majority of people ease up on that 60, and they talked about that easing up on that 60 grind, but I don't regret the amount of time that I put into it. But clearly there are some gaps in that aspect where questing is there. I think one quick and easy fix, personally speaking, would be to give bonus experience for mobs the longer they're alive. This is a system that's actually in Guild Wars 2. They actually have this system in New World today. But it's only for PvP flagged, and if they brought that into PvE flag, like, hey, I'm just doing PvE, and if that monster's been up for hours, I think it would help open up areas and different points of interests that people maybe they don't go farm, because there really isn't any value in that. But all of a sudden, imagine getting really ridiculous amounts of experience for just going and exploring kind of off the beaten path, so to speak. So that's going to be something that I'm working on in terms of just like a new updated fall feedback. I'm going to wait till the October update goes live for everybody, and then I'll be having a big post over on the forums, and I'll cover that here on the channel, and we'll have a big discussion about it. But Daniel, great progress. Just keep it up, but also at the same time, don't rush. Like, if you find yourself feeling kind of burned out, take a breath, take a step back, and then you can always kind of just chip away at it. That's how I kind of view my approach to these games. I'm just kind of chipping away at it every so often, and over the course of time, then I have progress. In my case, like especially with fishing and all that, like level 52, like, can you get to 53 and take a break? And so whether you want to do that as a daily kind of thing, or if you want to end up saying like, each week if I could gain 2 or 3 levels, eventually over the course of a month, you'll end up just like, you'll have it knocked out over the course of this month, the next month, and with all the new quests coming. So you should be able to hit 60 pretty quickly. Bradford Holt says, you hit the nail on the head. said clearly there was a demand for specific information that the majority of the player base was looking for to hearing about. And I feel they dropped the ball on something so simple. Just give your player base more of a 5-second mention at the very end of a 90-minute video. Agreed. Like, I think the veteran players here, beyond that though, a lot of players talking about like, when do I schedule PTO? Like, and that's where I feel like even if they didn't give me the roadmap in terms of scheduling time off of work, which is a thing that we do as gamers, you know, like I go to work just like everybody else. This is not my, this is my passion. This is not my job, you know, which I think gives me a lot of flexibility, being that I don't rely on it, but I do appreciate y'all's, you know, support both here and over on Twitch. Speaking of which, I know I said this is not about me. Tomorrow, Danny and I, we're going to do a collab over on Twitch around like 8:39 in the morning Central Time. If you guys aren't following Danny, huge content creator, huge streamer, awesome guy. We've done it a couple times. We're going to be talking about the dev update. We'll probably bring up some of these subjects as well. So that's actually going to be a little bonus thing going on over Twitch tomorrow morning. Links are in the description. You're not following. Plus, you also got the opportunity for the drops going out right now, all the way till October 13th. So lots of opportunity, lots of exciting times going on. A lot of content, a lot of discussions. It's gonna be fun. Anyway, sorry Bradford, I do apologize for my self plug there in the middle of this. So in terms of that, yes, I think that what we need to see as soon as possible, because not everybody can take PTO at the drop of a dime. Like, you want to go and put that time in, have it requested, have these dates set. The team needs to figure out the fresh start servers. They need to figure out these dates so they can communicate that to the player base, so the player base can respond accordingly. Lots of hype and excitement clearly from the numbers alone behind this update. A lot of people are returning, and they do want to be able to maybe take time to either do the new fresh start server experience or even step into Brimstone Sands that's going on. So I will be giving you guys as soon as we know the details for that. So hopefully you guys are excited. I am. I do feel like that could have been something they included in yesterday's video, but maybe things are still a little bit more fluid. They're trying to make sure that it has they have all their ducks in a row. So I can understand both sides, but they need to know that for people who are interested in it, people need heads up. People need that kind of heads up. This isn't like the launch where you know that it's happening, you know, at least a month in advance or more. This, you know, this is in a way is kind of a second launch, so to speak. Sean says, just wondering how they'll put mounts in, since the lore says no. I'm looking forward to it as an ad and think that they will be very creative with it. I think so too. When it comes to the lore, like, it could be like, this is how it is now, but then maybe there's some kind of event, just like with the soul gems, that all of a sudden open up new opportunities for the player. Like, hey, this happened, and because this happened, now there's an added thing. So yes, maybe normal people, NPCs, etc., can't use mounts for the lore reasons, but then maybe there's something we do in the game that has an impact on our character, our soul, that all of a sudden allows us to be more friendly. There's a lot of opportunity with that. They could always retcon it as well. Personally, I hope that they don't. I like seeing things evolve, and being that they talked about mounts even over a year ago, that I think essentially that they'll have a plan, and whatever that transition is going to be exciting and interesting to see for sure. Carlone says, I'm happy to hear that they're still updating the game into the next year, but for the next major update to the new world, it need be nice to give the PvP community some love. I do all except wars. Maybe a new game mode and a new OPR map, or even expanding the 3v3 to 5v5 as well. A harebrained idea would be creating similar system to Destiny 2's Trials of Osiris, for you and 4 teammates to queue up and fight in 5v5 matches style to try and win a set amount of matches without losing to go somewhere and to get special rewards. To be an interesting thing that they could do. All in all, though, the game is great. And I, as somebody who, and like when I did the survey, like, I haven't participated in PvP enough to sit here and understand weapon balance, but I actually love PvP. I do enjoy OPR. I actually do enjoy 3v3 arena. Sometimes I jump into it, sometimes I don't. Like, I love that organic nature that is New World, and how I choose to play it, whether I just feel like crafting and gathering, whether I feel like doing PvE, or if I feel like stepping into PvP. And we just actually, in one of the community game nights that we do on Fridays, did just an open world PvP night, and it ended up just happening organically. But that all being said, I support all these ideas, honestly, like more ideas, but you gotta have, if you're gonna do something, any kind of arena style, you have to have cross server matchmaking. One of the things that does weaken 3v3, as we saw in the first comment, is the lack of people in that. But you got to expand it to a wide range of people if you're going to have these level bands. Otherwise, you have to have some kind of normalization that comes in because you want the biggest pool of players to participate. And my personal thing is, like, I don't think the future of PvP in this game is all instance content. It's good that we have that as options in this game, but I want to see an investment in open world PvP. Namely, when, like, the suggestion that I put in that I'm going to keep, advocating for, seems like people like, when you looked at what happened when they introduced the PvP reward track, it actually funneled all the PvP open world players into a specific zone, and everybody loved that. They changed that because they realized, obviously, like, the struggles with it, but Amazon should hopefully have learned that incentivizing people to go into a spot, people will go into that spot, and literally, like, take a zone each week in this game and make it a contested zone. Not that it's forced PvP. I would actually more advocate for a special forced PvP server, just as they said, to, like, are there players who are actually going to interest and live in that? And then if that server fills up, make another one, which I think it probably would, but that's another discussion topic for another day. But essentially, like, imagine each week a new zone that has an incentive for players to go and open world PvP. So anybody who's looking to open world PvP pulls at the map and says, oh, looks like it's, Everfall today. Oh, next week looks like it's a, Ebonscale or First Light or whatever. They can go and do that, and then essentially have all kinds of things. Maybe have it over the course of the week, total up, and somebody wins the zone. I don't know. There's so many different potential opportunities to be had with that, but you got to have that incentive, and then you got to communicate that to players who are wanting to participate in that. And I think that's when you get that excitement going, because people want to open world PvP. And right now it's, you run around in a group and you find somebody who's like solo, you decide to gank them, or you end up having kind of bigger fights that happen organically, but they're exciting. Having that incentive and that focus also could open it up, because that doesn't take away from the randomness of it right now in the game, but it would say, hey, is this what you want to do tonight? Go here, because there's going to be great rewards, there's going to be lots of excitement, and there's something cool is going to happen at the end of the week for doing so. So that's just my thought. I'd love to see that. I love your ideas, by the way, so thank you very much, Carrie. Nightmoss says, solo endgame content was the biggest item that I found to be exciting. Solo play options was my #1 request on the recent survey. As for the roadmap, it would have been great to see some indication of where we were headed, but I do wonder that they're holding that off until they've decided on it, or if when a paid expansion comes into the picture. It's interesting because, like, I felt like obviously the 1 year anniversary would have been a good time to talk about that in terms of excitement. Happy 1 year, guess where we're going in year 2 kind of thing. I do feel like that was a missed opportunity, but at the same time, historically right now, the update, the dev update before the update that actually goes on the live servers, has been focused in on the update that we already kind of know. So there wasn't much new information outside of a few hints and teases as to where we're going. So there's a positive and negative here. So I too am interested in the solo endgame content, because I still advocate that XP needs to be a thing. XP could be such a valuable thing, especially for endgame content, because adding in that as any kind of form of endgame progression opens up every bit of content that's in the game right now. Whether you want to go fish, you want to gather, you want to craft, you want to go PvP, you want to do all of these different things. You want to just go kill mobs in the open world and farm them for materials. Like, you're still getting that base set of experience that is continuing to add to your progression and power. However, not necessarily like, breaking the system. Literally looking at crafting and gathering system that got updated with the, I forget, it starts with an A. I always draw a blank on the name. You guys can fill me in the comments, but you know what I'm talking about. Aptitude. There we go. Jeez. But the aptitude, bringing that into the weapons and the experience, like, I think really rounds out every bit of the game. And then essentially, when it comes down to content, solo content, still having in that XP adds in value. So it doesn't necessarily funnel you just to that, just gives you another option. This needs to be handled very carefully, because one of the things that I find enjoyable about MMOs is the social aspect, and hopefully we don't end up having this essentially kind of like ruin that. So it's a fine line to walk, and gamers can be kind of tricky to kind of balance that. The Neo Saber says, I just started playing New World, and honestly, it's great. The only question that I ever got is, why don't we seem to utilize movement and vaulting, climbing, etc.? There should be open world sections with some insane verticality, but it doesn't seem that way. That's actually one of the best things about what we've seen with Brimstone, and even some of these updates, a lot more verticality and jumping puzzles coming into play. When it comes down to mounts, though, like, even in kind of tying this all together, I'd love to see an aspect of kind of a glider. We talk about this insane verticality of this game, and having the ability to glide in some cases would be really cool, personally speaking. I know I've fallen many times, and you don't fall to your death, but essentially it'd be kind of neat to be able to find these high spots and try to get to other spots with gliding. And I think when it comes down to that movement, verticality, jumping puzzles, the more that they can lean into that, the better. I think that's going to open up the game to just that exploration, maybe some achievement hunters and things like that that we can see to play. Being that we're already seeing that, in fact, I actually have a little short videos up on this channel if you guys want to go check out the shorts feed. Really kind of walking through some of the jumping puzzles that I've found already in Brimstone. I'll continue to try to revamp the game and deliver those kind of contents to you here as well on that note. NQ Games says, I like the idea of making it more solo endgame content. I like group content, but it'll be nice just to hop on real quick and run a solo expedition while having to get a group together. I really am concerned by that personally. Also, I think that the leaks kind of deflated this dev blog. All the new stuff was leaked already, and I feel like the community would have been much more excited if the leaks didn't happen. I actually agree with that. Like, that's one of the things I struggle with when covering leaks specifically, because of the nature of things like taking time. We know loadouts are coming. They've already talked about loadouts coming. We're seeing on the PTR that does confirm it in a more public way. Everybody's talking about it, so it ends up being that, you know, why aren't you talking about it to a degree? So there is this weird incentive structure, especially in terms of as content creators. So just let me know where you guys fall on this, because this is feedback that I always want to know and how I'm managing it. So at the core of it, just, you know, that's why I think that there are still things that could have done outside of the leaks that really kind of drive this home. We saw that with the music. The music coming into the game, and that announcement was exciting. So the more of that surprise is the gift that we can give them back. And I think essentially NQ has a real good point here. Leaks kind of deflated some of the things that we already knew about. Travagoski says, I agree. We didn't learn too many things, but no point in going over the new roadmap until the major pieces of the old roadmap are out. My opinion, as always. That's honestly a fair opinion as well. We have not seen yet the PvE and PvP leaderboards, which are set to come in the fall. Obviously, it doesn't seem like, because of the PT, that they're on the PTR yet, meaning this might be something that rolls out in November or something like that. But the fall runs from September to the middle of December. Technically, so there's still plenty of time, and then we'll have the winter convergence, so there's still plenty of opportunity, and maybe that's what October ends up kind of detailing. What we don't want to see too much of is that things that don't make it. So if, let's say, the leaderboards get pushed to the winter update, like, that's not that big of a deal, not big of a loss personally, but I know there's people like me that are also excited about it, so I hope that they're able to still stick within the fall schedule for that piece of content, being that they've kind of been doing every 2 months. But also the roadmap should start to have that more seasonal, maybe 4 big updates a year, and any kind of like weekly or bi-weekly bug fixes that kind of pop up that they can kind of take care of will be of value. Christian Agler here says, I see this as that they're busy with the big probability, if not the biggest update that they've done, so that they have time for an anniversary event or anything more than as just a Brimstone is, and it is the future. And that ties exactly into kind of their current pattern that we've seen. Where after the update, that usually ends up being a dev update that really is focusing in on the exciting announcements, as opposed to like the dev update before the update ends up being just kind of a more detailed dive. And that's what they spend time on. And there's an interesting factor there. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I find that fascinating to get that insight and more. We can go, that goes on from there. A couple more comments before we wrap up, and let's see here what Chris says here. I kind of skipped over it. I hadn't seen Chris's comment before kind of sitting down to make this video, but we'll just go with it. As for solo endgame content, I'd love for it to be the type of solo survival arena with different rounds of mobs, kind of how ESO has with Maelstrom Arena. Some you can grind repeatedly with different level scales off, regardless of time achievements. Final Fantasy 14 has like kind of the blue trial things as well, so just these kind of curated fights that you can kind of challenge yourself to. I don't know, it's going to be interesting, because especially if it puts you into an instance, do we start to de-incentivize the open world? Anything that they do, I have no problem with them adding in raids. Absolutely, I think that'd be cool. Just don't rob the open world of content as well. Like, hey, here's an instance raid that you guys can do with that challenging curated experience. Oh, guess what? There's also this thing, like with Merkard, maybe they open up another area or make some changes so that now there's also this open world raid that again is just chaos and exciting, and maybe you take multiple raid teams into it like people do now. I think that's fun, and it gives players lots of things to do. Salvador says, have they announced any dates yet? Can't wait. No, they need to get to that as soon as possible. And then I guess we'll wrap up here with Peter Pan. What a good way to end a video here. I hope they don't listen too much to the community for New World, just because another MMORPG instead of refreshing. I hope Loadouts will not spoil the immersion. I don't know if the Loadouts are going to spoil immersion specifically. I think it's actually going to enhance the content they do have. But immersion could be easily spoiled through, obviously, so much UI elements and whatnot. It's going to be a fine line, and the general rule of thumb is that gamers tend to optimize the fun out of everything in that regards. So you do have to, and saying no, and this is what I said, is a perfectly acceptable answer within the community aspect, that the devs should have that ability. It shouldn't be yes to every idea that we come up with. But at the end of the day, like, I think that there are definitely, I love that that it is a dialogue with the developers, and that is important as well. But that is also a fine line, because, you know, gamers have that, and that's where, back into the first comment about efficiency, we can optimize the fun. We can make these, like, oh, here's all the things that make this game so efficient that it just becomes a chore. And that's one of the things that I absolutely hope that New World never goes down that road to, is that essentially, like, where you just kind of log in, you kind of do your things, and you've missed the beauty of that. And so that's gonna be something that I'm always trying to be cognizant of. And doesn't mean I'm perfect, so just note that, you know, that's just gonna always be a part of the dialogue. You can let me know where your ideas and my ideas conflict. Again, this is always an open dialogue. You know, that's one of the things I love about gaming and gaming culture, is the discussions around these things. So guys, those are y'all's comments. Hopefully you enjoyed this discussion video as well. You know, these are a little bit longer, so if you made it all the way to this part of the video, sound off in the comments with the special phrase, yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum. I just kind of made that up on the fly. Either way, you do you. Just let me know if you made it all the way to the secret call out of the video itself. I thank you so much for being here. Again, if you feel like these videos earn it, liking it, subscribing, and also checking out the podcast Epic Loot Radio are great ways to support the content that I make here on YouTube. You can always look for all that in the description. Hopefully you join me tomorrow over on Twitch. No community game night tomorrow. I've got things going on in the evening, but we'll be playing in the morning, and then we'll actually be going over to Ginger Prime on YouTube and reacting to the Ashes of Creation dev update. So a lot of MMORPG discussions, thoughts, plans, excitements in the future. Guys, if you are looking for more of my content, YouTube has a couple of recommendations over here on the side for you. Hopefully you check those out. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and take care.